talking with the Mayor of Nanaimo and two of the councillors who've come down to meet us at the ENN station and discuss the recent court discussion with us with regard to the ENN Railway. Mayor Corpin, maybe I can talk to you first of all and ask you, this decision by the Supreme Court of Canada has obviously got some very detrimental concerns for us as far as the island is concerned. How do you feel, sir?
Well, it's going to shake up the status quo, and perhaps that's a good thing in the sense that the service for the ENN Railway for passenger service has not been the greatest for the public, the tourists, and we hope that the provincial and federal governments are going to be put on notice that this is a service that should be maintained and improved. Particularly concerned about the possibility of protecting it for rapid transit use between our communities. And if the Via Rail opts out and CP Rail opts out, then there should be an alternative service provided, and the benefits that accrued to the CPR should be revoked.
At a recent meeting that was held in Victoria with the ENN Steering Committee, we met with some of the MLAs, and they felt that at this point in time, the main concern was to rescind the court order that ordered this railway to be discontinued rather, by the previous Conservative government. Do you feel that that order should be rescinded and this railway should be maintained and operated by the present owners?
Whoever's going to provide the best service for public transit and transportation on Vancouver Island should be brought forward at this time. Whether it's the current managers of the Via Rail, I haven't got that much confidence in my past dealings with them, with council members. They obviously want out of this service. If they're going to be required to do it, they better improve it.
Maybe we can talk now to Councillor Little and just ask you your feelings, Councillor. How do you feel about this?
Well, it's saddening in a way that the way in which they're apparently trying to move. But, you know, I go back a few years. I was born in Nanaimo, and I remember the old locomotives, and just the sound of the bells, the locomotives, and the, you know, the whole thing, the atmosphere about it. I mean, if we could get that back again somehow, I can imagine. You can just imagine the tourism attraction on the island that would be developed just in this alone. Never mind anything else.
You feel too, also, Councillor, with regard to the island service here. Don't you feel that the people of Vancouver Island have paid dearly and paid enough for this service, and it should be continued?
Oh, I certainly do. I think in the original agreement, if I recall it, what I've read of it is the mineral rights and timber rights on 20 miles on either side of the highway, or either side of the railway, and if they didn't get it on the water side, which they couldn't, they got it on the other side, and I think this is all part of a deal. It's an agreement, and I feel that if they were to withdraw this type of service, then maybe that should be looked at on the original agreement. But one of the things I'd like to bring forward, I sit on tourism, why they would want to withdraw at this time when tourism has become the second largest industry in British Columbia, and the island is growing at a tremendous rate. Particularly the central part of the island is growing at the rate of, what, 4 to 5% a year. Man, I've always said if businesses come and don't walk away from it, capitalize on it.
Exactly. Mayor Corpin, maybe we can come back to you for a moment here. With regard to the contractual agreement, the original agreement said to maintain, to operate, and run continuously. How do you feel with regard to the Supreme Court decision that has said that the government only has an obligation to have built the railway, not to run continuously? Don't you think that word continuously has some bearing on the future of this line?
Well, one of my areas of legal expertise and interest is constitutional law. I'm astounded by the decision. It seems to me the language of the agreement is quite plain, simple, and direct, and the decision to allow the opting out and the ending of this service just boggles my mind.
It seems to me that if we're allowed to discontinue the passenger service on Vancouver Island, that the owner of the line, CP Rail, is only going to be one step behind applying for application to abandon the line. How would you feel with that? I mean, Nanaimo is a base of operations, not only for passenger, but for freight as well.
Absolutely. The economic mainspring of Vancouver Island has been historically the railway. It continues to be important for not only Nanaimo but the entire island. I would expect that not only is the need to maintain passenger service required, but also the freight service. We have to protect the rail line in the ENN right-of-way for current and future use, for rapid transit, for tourism purposes, for regular passenger service between communities, and particularly for freight.
How would the city of Nanaimo approach the possibility of the provincial government taking over this line with BC Rail?
Our concern is that the service be provided. We don't care which entity does it. We want the service maintained and upgraded to fulfill the needs of our economy and for our citizens.
Well, certainly I couldn't agree with you more. We have a newly formed committee on the island, the ENN Steering Committee, which has just been formed. We're gradually expanding all over the island, and I understand that the Nanaimo City Council is supporting that steering committee. We hope certainly to bring about a lot of changes and bring this railway back to Vancouver Island and the management of it to Vancouver Island.
I couldn't agree more.
And how about you, sir?
Yeah, we're right behind you all the way.
Well, that's nice to know, and we appreciate your help. Well, thank you all for talking to us this morning and coming down to the station, and we'll certainly do the very best we can to keep the railway for you.
Our pleasure, and we would recommend that your viewers and supporters get in touch with their provincial and elected representatives, because it's only going to be when the public speaks up that the action will take place.
I'm talking with Bruce Tunstall, and Bruce is the dynamic chairman of the newly formed ENN Steering Committee, a committee that is dedicated to bringing the ENN Railway back to the residents of Vancouver Island. Bruce, your comments with regard to the decision that was handed down by the Supreme Court and your feelings on the matter, and a little bit about the steering committee.
Yes, thank you, Patrick, for coming up today. It's a great pleasure to be able to speak to you. The recent court decision out of Ottawa just is unbelievable. That how the federal court and the federal government can feel that they can opt out of the 120-year agreement that brought BC into Confederation just doesn't make any sense. That they have an obligation, both morally and economically, to maintain this rail line on this island. And if they are unable and unwilling to do that, and it appears it's the latter, they're unwilling, then maybe they should fork over enough money that we can upgrade this rail line to mainline status, and we'll run it ourselves and make the decisions here on the island that's the benefit of all the people and the railroad.
Bruce, we've mentioned a number of times this morning on the course of our interviews on the train and so on, the fact that the original agreement called for continuous operation of this line, to maintain, to operate and run continuously a line of railway. How do you feel with that now that the federal government has seen fit through the Supreme Court to say that this line was only obligated to build the line, not to run continuously? How do you get by with that?
Well, the word continuously, to me, when I went to school, meant just that, continuously. And they have reneged on their long-term agreement to this province. And I just find it, I don't know how they think they can get away with it. They, the federal government, feel that they don't want to look after the interests of BC, and that also goes for our member in Victoria, David Anderson, who happens to be a member of the cabinet in Ottawa. They made a promise in the last federal election that they not only would maintain this ENN railway, that they would improve the service. And what have they done? The exact opposite, of course. Have attempted to cut the service, and we're not going to put up with it.
Bruce, you're the chairman of the ENN Steering Committee, a committee that's been formed to try, hopefully, to bring the railroad back to the residents of Vancouver Island. I'm fortunate to be a member of that committee with you. Maybe you'd like to say a little bit about the committee and some of the upcoming meetings that people might like to attend.
I certainly would. That the ENN Railway Steering Committee was formed several months ago to start to bring some pressure to bear on the various governments to maintain this railroad in a better operating condition and improve the service. Now, with the recent court decision, of course, we've had to kick ourselves into high gear and try and get this thing resolved prior to the September withdrawal of passenger service. Now, the committee itself is comprised of members from up and down the island. We are an umbrella group. so that we can speak as one voice. We have subcommittees, and many of the island communities now are in the process of forming more. The expertise, and I want to make this quite clear, the expertise on the committee and the dedication of the people is quite astounding. That I feel proud to be a member of this committee and work with with the people on the committee. That we are a non-political group in the sense that we don't follow any political philosophy. We will be political in the sense that we will lobby any political party or any politician we have to get this railway maintained. Now, that we feel that the long-term goals for this railroad can only be achieved if we bring the management back to Vancouver Island, where it initially started. This railroad was initially built and started by people on Vancouver Island, and then was sold to the CPR. That's part of their deal to bring BC into Confederation. Now we want to bring the management and control of this railroad back to BC and Vancouver Island so that we can properly manage it and put it in a paying proposition. This railroad has been the backbone of the economy of this island for hundreds of years, and we can't afford to lose it. With the demise of the workforce in the forest industry and so forth due to automation and environmental concerns, we have to start providing jobs, other jobs for people on this island, and this railroad could be a major impetus in that area.
With the recent decision by the Supreme Court of Canada to discontinue passenger service on Vancouver Island, and the ENN has no obligation to continue service, one wonders how long it will be before even the freight service is gone from this island. We're at the ENN Wilcox Yard in Nanaimo, and it's a hub of activity at this time. Freight trains going to Port Alberni, Duncan, and Victoria. One wonders how long it may continue. The ENN Steering Committee hopes to bring this about, to turn this around, so that we can bring it back to Vancouver Island. With the cooperation of the mayors, councils, regional districts on this island, provincial government, we hope that we can bring our railroad back to Vancouver Island. I'm Patrick Hind for Shaw Cable.
It was two Democrats that took a strong leadership role. And matter of fact, in 1989, coming up with a proposal that this railroad be part of an economic strategy, an economic development strategy for Vancouver Island. That we not only upgrade the island highway because of the tremendous increase in usage, but we upgrade the railroad. That it be utilized for passengers, for freight, for tourism. That we not only upgrade that, but we expand the service to include all of those areas, and we bring in a new operator, BC Rail, and let's somebody enthusiastic operate the railroad instead of running it down.